Welcome to a video on how to play and build Rhino in 2019. I made this video specifically for new players to understand how Rhino works and know how to mod properly. First I will go over Rhino's stats and abilities and then show you 3 builds. The first 2 are the builds I use depending on what I am doing, and the third build will be a budget build for new players with cheat mods. I would like to start by saying Rhino is not a tank frame but rather is a defensive frame with a jack-of-all-trades kit. However, his abilities are pretty strong even though they offer a variety of things. Also, yes, Rhino is not a tank. Why, you may ask? Well, that is because a tank by definition is a class that soaks up minimal damage due to damage resistance or reduction and can heal or regenerate health at a fast rate to counter attacks. The frames that fall into this category are Uros, Nidus, Oberon, Gera, and Mesa. Also a few others depending on the build and playstyle. This doesn't mean Rhino is squishy. It just means that he soaks up damage as dealt to a certain extent while being invulnerable. This is also why Iron Skin doesn't scale very well in endurance runs other than the fact that it absorbs damage when cast. Now that is out of the way, let's start with his passive, called Shockwave, which pretty much releases a shockwave whenever Rhino lands on a surface from a decent height. This shockwave knocks down enemies and deals minor damage. Nothing more about this. Rhino's first ability is called Rhino Charge, where Rhino charges forward in the direction he is facing, knocking down enemies and dealing damage. This ability is a form of minor crowd control and also offers some mobility to Rhino. You can use this to just push enemies out of your face when you need to. This ability also has an innate combo system where when you cast charge in less than 1 second after the initial charge, the damage is doubled, the cost of the ability is halved and the range increases. We do not really care about this as this ability is not the focus of any Rhino build other than his double augment build, which isn't really effective in my opinion. I will go over the augments in the build section of the video. His second ability is probably his signature ability. It's called Iron Skin, and when cast Rhino becomes invulnerable for 3 seconds and all damage dealt to Rhino during this phase is absorbed and added onto his Iron Skin. Iron Skin provides additional protection which has its own health based off of ability strength and Rhino's armor value. Rhino is also completely immune to all status effects, knockdowns and any other laser barriers or such. When damaged, Rhino's Iron Skin takes the damage for him while his own health and shields are invulnerable. You can check the remaining health left for Iron Skin in the top right of the screen or check the percent of health remaining in the bottom right ability icon. This ability makes Rhino unkillable while it is active, making it a great way of remaining pretty much invulnerable. This is why it is a good idea to build armor mods on Rhino as it increases the health of Iron Skin. I would suggest casting this ability at the start of a mission and recast it whenever it runs out. You are gonna have to keep this ability active at all times or you will die in a few seconds if the enemies are tough for you. That's pretty much it for Iron Skin. It's basically an additional coating of HP that you cast on yourself for protection. His third ability is called Roar, where Rhino roars, giving a weapon damage bonus and an ability strength bonus to all allies in range for a given duration. This buff gives a plus 150% buff with 300% power strength. One thing to keep in mind is that the buff is additive, that is, it gives bonus weapon damage and power strength instead of amplifying the damage and power strength which mods do. This makes it a strong buff both for weapons and abilities. With my build you will have a decent 133% buff. For instance, let's test it out with my Soma. You can see that without the buff it deals 30 damage and with buff active, it deals 69 damage, which shows the additive nature of the buff granted. while if it was a multiplicative buff it would have dealt 40 damage with buff. And his final ability is called Rhino Stomp, where Rhino stomps the ground, stunning all enemies in a radius for a long duration and dealing high blast damage to them. This ability, like his first, is very situationally used. Sure, you can use it in low-level missions to clear enemies, but that requires range, which Rhino sacrifices while modding, as his more powerful abilities don't need them. It can be used for CC in mid-level missions, but that also requires range and decent duration, which hinders Rhino's build. Thus this ability is mostly a waste of energy to use in anything above mid-level content. Now for the first build. This build is an all-rounder build for any normal missions that I take Rhino into. It provides good survivability in the form of iron skin with good HP. It maintains 100% efficiency to make sure I can cast my skin and roar without too much energy issues. It also has good duration for his roar and lets me enjoy using my weapons without dying or getting any status effect on myself. I am using Steel Charge as I haven't formatted my aura slot, and also because it gives the most mod space out of the V polarity or mods. I am using Blind Rage, Umbrella Intensify, Power Drift, and Augur Secrets for a decently high power strength of 265%. Yes, I can go higher, but I would have to sacrifice efficiency and duration, which I need for roar and casting iron skin. I also feel 265% is enough, as it gives a plus 133% buff from roar, which is pretty good. I also have primed continuity and narrow-minded for duration for roar. Fleeting for efficiency and flow for energy pool increase, as Rhino has a terrible base energy pool. The second build is a pure iron skin focused build to make Rhino extremely hard to kill. I have Blind Rage, Augur Secrets, Umbrella Intensify, Transient Fortitude, and Power Drift for a high power strength to maximize the iron skin health. I also have Gladiator Aegis and Steel Fiber, as they provide armor which further increases the iron skin health. I have Fleeting for some efficiency so that my efficiency doesn't go in the negative. We do not need duration, as iron skin has no effect from duration at all. I have the Iron Shrapnel Augment, as it offers decent CC and a lot of safety, as it allows me to recast iron skin whenever I need it rather than wait for it to run out, as that is dangerous and I might die if I get hit by something strong or get knocked down before recasting. And finally, this is the budget build for new players who just got their hands on Rhino. This build has cheap mods and basic survivability for new players. This last slot is for any mod that you prefer or have access to. If you have access to Blind Rage, Transient Fortitude, or Augur Secrets, I would suggest putting it here. I also suggest you replace Intensify with Umbrella Intensify once you get it. Also, please do not use any of the other Umbrella mods, as they are simply not effective enough and not worth all that forma. Just use Umbrella Intensify instead of Intensify. Thank you for watching, and leave your feedback down below. I would like some guide suggestions from new players to help you guys. Bye.